in which both they and their children can suffer the consequences. A case in point, Superstorm Sandy, which upended the lives of more than 775,000 people. Tens of thousands of them were children. America Tonight's Christoph Putzel now remembers the challenges with mothers who battled the storm to save their kids.
I was at work, and I remember hearing people talk, oh, they didn't think it was going to hit that hard.
A single mother of 7, Crystal Lee has never had it easy.
You can see it from the bay. The bay is right there.
Yeah. But the coming storm was something she wasn't prepared for.
The water began to come straight up, like when God split the sea. You really thought that was the actual thing happening, that God split the sea and the water began to merge upward.
Crystal remembers that night in October 2012, when Hurricane Sandy barreled into the shores of the Northeast.
I was still prepared to take my kids, but I didn't know where, because I had both kids with special needs, and we couldn't go to a normal shelter. Boom!
She's the sole caretaker of 2 daughters and 1 granddaughter. Janasia has cerebral palsy and epilepsy. Nellie has sickle cell disease. During the storm, she had limited options. With no one to turn to, she weathered the storm in this apartment in the community of Far Rockaway, Queens. In the middle of a peninsula, just over a half hour outside of Manhattan, the Far Rockaways were decimated by the storm.
I'm racing the water up the stairs. So I'm sitting on the 3rd floor, now I'm panicking, what do I do? But I can't show fear because I want my kids to panic. The phones went out, we had no cell phones, no anything. I gotta take these kids up the hallway by myself in the dark. What am I gonna do? I held them all night. Next day came, I couldn't get out. Now I have no medicine, but I can't cry.
As day broke and the water receded, Sandy left behind a trail of destruction. Relief efforts sprang into action, but it was clear the Far Rockaways were forgotten. It took 5 weeks for official relief efforts to reach them.
What Hurricane Sandy did was it blew the veil off of that lie, and that's what I will call it. Because what happened in this community was people who hadn't thought about it before saw the Red Cross pass this community by. People who hadn't thought about it before saw FEMA pass this community by.
The whole reason that we asked you to come is because we need input from you.
Aria Doe is director of the Action Center, a nonprofit that's been working in Far Rockaway for 13 years.
Within this 11.5-mile stretch of land in the middle is a third world community. And it's a third world community in that there are 45,000 residents here who live in 6 public housing units. And of those 45,000 residents, roughly 65% of them live 200% below poverty level. And this was before they lost everything when Hurricane Sandy hit.
Aria believes the failed response to Sandy was particularly devastating for one key contingent of the community, the mothers of Far Rockaway.
Mothers are the glue that not only holds families together, I dare say mothers are the glue that hold the world together. And I say that with no prejudice towards men, but I say it as a fact. I am a mother, and I know when I'm sick, my whole household is out of sorts. And if you don't hold families together, the world comes apart.
According to Save the Children, worldwide, women and children are up to 14 times more likely than men to die in a disaster. This year, its State of the World's Mothers Report took an in-depth look at how mothers fare in crisis and found that in the U.S., 28 states failed to meet the minimum standards recommended for disaster planning after the last catastrophic disaster, Hurricane Katrina.
We had to bathe our kids we had to go get the water from the fire hydrants to bathe our children.
So you were bathing your kids with the water from the fire hydrants?
With the water from the fire and drinking for the water. We had any water, we couldn't even purify it, but people were getting sick from the water. Me, myself, I got a virus from it. My granddaughter got a virus from it because the water wasn't clean. The water was very, very dirty. They had a sign, please don't drink the water. But guess what? We had to drink the water.
While all of this was happening, there was a car going around for NYCHA housing saying, pay your rent. Here's where you go to pay your rent. You got an apartment you can't sleep in. You got babies that are sleeping in mold and mildew. They've got body rashes that are coming on them. They're drinking out of fire hydrants. They have no shoes on their feet. And you're being told where you have to go to pay your rent. It's an atrocity. It's just a tragedy. So we knew we had to act.
Aria, along with a handful of mothers, including Crystal, created an organization called the Rockaway Babes. Overlooked by relief efforts, they would come to their own rescue.
We know how people are treated here, and it's not right.
When you're stuck here, you are stuck here and you have no place to go. The business as usual says those people that want to evacuate, they didn't care, they don't care about their kids. Let's go and let's help those people who really want to be helped. Not really trying to look at what the situation was. Do you think a mother really wants her child to be sitting there eating lead poison? You know, while they're eating their rice, sitting on the floor that's still wet and seeping 3 months later with mold and mildew? Heck no. So we're preparing. We're developing pods and teams of mothers and parents so that when the next disaster happens, and we have one mother's group who will know where you go for distribution, for water, for supplies, have a network working in conjunction with the Action Center to get that. We're taking the power back in our community. We're preparing as best we can. Water is filled here.
Since Hurricane Sandy, Rockaway Babes has evolved into something more powerful than an emergency response system. For these moms, it's a support group and a safe haven.
God lifted a burden off of my shoulders. You name it, they gave it. So I decided, if you could do this for me, I want to give you back. So I joined the Rockaway Mom Babes. So what that actually did for me, instead of doing the why me, you know, okay, I'm going to wallow in my sorrows, I decided that I can't donate material things. Like, I can't give you all the water, but I can assist you to get the water. I can bring it to you. I can, if you're too tired, I'll stand in line for you. And by helping them, it helped me to be strong. I wish I had one word I could say that would make the world understand how devastating this thing was and still is. I don't know everyone's story, but I do know that I'm not the only one that feels like this. And I became a Rockaway mom because of it.
For Crystal, the challenges of motherhood haven't disappeared with Hurricane Sandy. But if disaster strikes, this mother will look to other mothers for help.
But when the next one hits, we're gonna make sure that we are directing people in it.
Christoph Putzel, Al Jazeera, Far Rockaway, New York.
Coming up next on America Tonight.